It all started with flashing blue lights and a woman's voice echoing through the quiet night, shrill and shaking, claiming some man was installing a booby trap on a fence. That man was me. But the so-called trap? Just to lock a prototype, technically on my side gate. I was sitting on my porch, sipping iced tea, watching it all unfold like the opening act of a bad reality show, knowing full well that Karen, yeah, that's what she called herself, had no idea she'd just picked the worst possible gate in the entire city to mess with. See, what she didn't know was that I'm a nationally certified locksmith instructor. I teach police, fire departments, even private security firms how to deal with high-security locks. I don't just install locks, I invent them, test them, teach them. So when she started flailing her arms and demanding the cops arrest me for terrorizing the neighborhood, I just smiled. I'd seen this kind of drama before, just not in my own front yard. 3 months before all this, I moved into the neighborhood for peace and space mostly, so I could train my German Shepherd, Max, and run firmware tests on new lock designs in my backyard shed. I thought I'd found a quiet corner of the suburbs. Turns out, it was only quiet until Karen decided I was a threat to her imaginary HOA kingdom. The first few weeks were normal enough. I met some decent neighbors, set up my garage workshop, and settled into a routine. Morning walks with Max, afternoons teaching my advanced locksmithing course, evenings testing prototypes. One of those prototypes was a smart deadbolt I designed with biometric entry, a keypad backup, and triple-cylinder redundancy. Basically, Fort Knox in a backyard lock. To most folks, it looked like just another modern lock. To someone in the trade, it was a masterpiece. That's when Karen made her debut: oversized sunglasses, sun hat that could land a plane, clipboard in hand like she was on a mission from the CIA. She introduced herself as the HOA's security liaison, which, as I later found out, wasn't even a real title. She demanded to know why I had installed a VY Sewell obstruction on a community-facing gate. I calmly explained the gate was fully on my property, per zoning documents. I had city permits, HOA guidelines printed, everything in order. But she didn't care. She quoted made-up bylaws, muttered about neighborhood harmony, and took photos like she was gathering EVY Denke for a trial. I handed her the paperwork, she didn't even glance at it. That night, around midnight, I heard a click near the gate. Pulled up my security feed, and there she was, flashlight in one hand, the other jamming glue into my lock. I laughed out loud. What she didn't know was that the lock had a cleaning function and a hidden micro camera. I had her on VY Deo in 1080p, but I didn't confront her. Not yet. I upgraded the lock instead. Added a Wi-Fi transmitter to log temperature, proximity, and tampering. Installed a 2-foot proximity alert linked to my phone. Over the next week, more glue, gum, a tiny hammer attempt. All logged. All backed up to the cloud. Then came the 911 call. She told the dispatcher I was installing military hardware, that children were in danger. The dispatcher asked if there were any kids around. She said no. A fire? Nope. Burglary? Negative. But she kept saying de VYC and hazard, so the cops came. I stepped out with my coffee, smiled, showed them the lock, my badge, and the prototype specs. One officer chuckled. He'd actually attended my class a year earlier. Karen turned pale, then red, then pale again. She tried changing the subject when asked if she'd trespassed. They left with a warning for her about false reports. I thought that might be the end. I was wrong. When Karen gets humiliated, she escalates. A few days later, I got a flyer slipped under my door. Emergency HOA meeting to discuss a public hazard, my lock. I showed up with every legal document imaginable, all neatly tabbed and indexed. Karen stood at the front like Judge Judy, spouting conspiracy buzzwords and technical nonsense, accusing my lock of disrupting electromagnetic fields. She even called it a surveillance-grade breach deterrent. When she slapped a photo of the lock on the table, people giggled. I waited until she finished, then stood up, walked to the front, and calmly walked everyone through the lock specs, the legality, the safety standards. I even joked that if EMF waves were dangerous, we should probably ban garage door remotes and baby monitors. Got some solid laughs. By the end, most folks were on my side. Karen stormed out. But she wasn't done. She installed a camera in a bush aimed at my gate. I found it, traced the power to a solar charger. She claimed it was her right to monitor community-facing structures. So I dug deeper. Turns out her security title was fake. No HOA policy backed it. She bullied people into thinking she had authority. To top it off, she threw a block party with a banner reading, "Locks DVYda, Love Unites." She passed out flyers with fake danger symbols, edited photos of my gate. I just walked over, let Max sit calmly beside me, and chatted with neighbors. But that gave me an idea. I installed a decoy lock with a sensor and alert system. 2 nights later there she was, flashlight in her mouth, trying to tamper with it. The sensor beeped, a light flashed, and she bolted. She left her bag behind. Inside, lockpick kits, fake HOA citations, license plate numbers. She was planning to go door to door, enforcing her own fantasy rules. I didn't turn her in yet. Instead, I upgraded again: fingerprint mapping, motion tracking, heat sensors. She came back 3 more times. Once with mystery liquid, once with tape, once with a neighbor who bailed halfway through. Each time, I logged everything. Then came the last straw: guy I didn't recognize at my gate in the middle of the night. He worked with precision, not fumbling. Turns out, it was Greg, a former student who flunked my ethics module. I spoke through the speaker. "Greg, you're touching my property. Think carefully." He froze, then admitted Karen had told him it was an HOA gate. I let him walk. Next day, I got a formal HOA complaint, OBVY usly authored by Karen, demanding I pro-VY to emergency access keys. I replied with code references and security footage. Karen kept pushing, pacing outside the HOA office daily. I heard stories from neighbors she'd cited a kid's lemonade stand, a woman's wind chimes. Then, she stuck a fake city notice on my gate. No case number, wrong font, no watermark. I scanned it, traced pen lines where she'd forged a city logo. I filed a complaint with the city and the HOA. At the next meeting, Karen tried to sneak out, but the board president stopped her. She refused to talk. Days later, the HOA issued a community-wide notice. No one could enforce rules without official designation. Karen's camera disappeared. Her clipboard vanished. The silence was peaceful. Neighbors waved more. Kids played longer. But I wasn't done. I installed a puzzle box next to the gate labeled Emergency Bypass Access. No real function. Just buttons, lights, and a camera aimed right at it. Karen tried messing with it for days. I've got hours of footage of her muttering and poking it. Then, the HOA president stopped by and asked if I'd consult on their new security policy. I agreed under one condition: no one enforces rules unless officially appointed, trained, and re-VYU'd. He nodded. Later that week, I passed Karen's house. Her blinds were shut. Her lawn, once immaculate, overgrown. I didn't feel vindictive, just relieved. But the real closure? The kid who walked up to me during a workshop and asked to learn locksmithing. A few months later, I had 3 teens coming by weekly, learning about locks, circuits, safety. One of them told me he wanted to be an engineer now. All of it started because of a lock. Just a lock. A boundary. Not to keep people out, but to protect what matters. Karen tried to make that lock a symbol of DVY shown. But it turned into something else entirely: a mirror. It showed the neighborhood who she really was. And in doing so, it helped bring everyone else together. So yeah, I kept the lock. Still blinking green. Still doing its job. Quiet. Consistent. Unbothered. Just like peace should be. If you've ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA or a neighbor who thought they ran the block, drop your story in the comments. I want to hear it. Was I right to handle it the way I did? Or would you have done something different? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you believe security and sanity still matter in a community.